What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Terence Bud Crawford. Get this, Terence Crawford frustrated that he hasn't had the same fate as Canelo Alverez. Terence Crawford is a former undisputed champion at 140. Canelo Alverez just became an undisputed champion at 168 when he beat Caleb Plant by 11th rounds. Crawford and Alverez have both multi-division champs who are two of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Alverez is already a four-division champion who has beaten some of the sport's top stars over the last decade. The Nebraska native Crawford is the current welterweight WBO champion and will next face former welterweight champion Shawn Porter in what will arguably be the toughest test of his 13-year career. The 34-year-old Crawford, 37-0 with 28 KOs, who last was in the ring against Kell Brook and cruised to a fourth-round KO last November, reflected on his recent run compared to Alverez. He quotes, he is definitely doing things differently to me because he is able and capable of doing those things, Crawford told Sky Sports. He has fought 4 times in the past year. He has become undisputed. He is getting all the fights that he wants right now. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to. It has been frustrating, but what's meant for me, I will have. Everything happens for a reason, and I believe that my time is coming, and I feel like I'm already there, but I have to prove it to the world, and it starts with Porter. Those are the words of Terence Crawford. Let's talk about the frustration part. I feel that Crawford just, I don't know why he wants to have the same fate as Canelo, because for one, Canelo's lost. He lost early in his career, and I think because he is marketable, because he had different promotional backings, he was able to be promoted in a certain way. And you have to look at it. Canelo didn't even really speak English a lot like that. He really wasn't marketed as an English-speaking guy that you can understand him. He always needed a interpreter and things of that nature. And then taking a loss to Mayweather. But then he lost to Mayweather. Everyone loses to Mayweather. And I think that was one of the game changes for Canelo. Canelo had the opportunity to perform on stage in the ring with Floyd Money Mayweather. And Mayweather, of course, he endorses the fighters that have the opportunity to fight him, because not everyone does. Terence Crawford didn't have that luxury, Terence Crawford was a smaller guy. He can't do anything about it. He was a smaller guy, and he was basically more parallel to Floyd than anybody else. The only difference is it's his decisions. Let me explain. He's talking about Canelo Alverez. I think he should be more comparing himself to Floyd, because he was a smaller guy moving up to welterweight and the super welterweight in time and all that. But what did he do when he was there? He did dethrone Cuban fighters like Gamboa, even though people look at Gamboa as an old has-been fighter now, but he wasn't that way 7-8 years ago. He was undisputed. He was fast. He was like a mini Mike Tyson kind of cat. He was very athletic, very skilled, very powerful for his size. And Terence Crawford dethroned that man in a very hellified fight. It was a good fight, but Terence Crawford made his play then, but he didn't stop there. He took out guys that made Matisse quit, at 140. So that was his first pay-per-view. But again, nobody still really didn't know who he was. He was just a guy that upset Gamboa. So I feel that Terence Crawford being with Bob Arum, because he was doing all this with Bob Arum, I feel he should have left Bob Arum and decided to be a free agent. You want to do what a fighter does, or you want to be like a fighter, you got to do what that fighter does. And what Canelo Alvarez did was he got rid of people that was hindering him. He got rid of his first promoter. I think it was Universum, right? He got rid of them. All right. He even had to pay them some money on the back end, but it paid off because they sued him. So everybody's rich. but he went with Golden Boy. When Golden Boy seemed or deemed themselves not trustworthy or told him some little white lies, he left them too. Then he went to Eddie Hearn. Then after Eddie Hearn, he did a case-by-case basis. And then he went over, because he did that, because he was a free agent, he was able to get the fights he wanted to. Terence Crawford can't do that because Terence Crawford never made those type of decisions. Okay, so he just made bad decisions by trying to stay too loyal. Yes, kind of like how Deontay Wilder did. Deontay Wilder, the only difference was Wilder lost. Okay, Wilder did the same thing. Wilder refused to not travel or navigate through this boxing world to benefit him. Instead, he decided to stay with Showtime and Al Heyman and all these guys that's been with him. And look what he got. He got half the money or quarter of the money that he really should have got. He's still popular, but but understand, Wilder and Terence Crawford are two different people. Wilder is a guy that is a self-promoting type of individual. Terence Crawford is a silent killer. So between those two guys, who you want to really see? A guy that's yelling, "We still been fighting for 400 years and we still fighting to this day"? Or are we going to fight a guys like, "I go in there and let my hands do the talking"? Who you going to really go to see? Who you want to really see marketed? Deontay Wilder, because he's able to self-promote himself. But Terence Crawford, he was getting good money where he was, but he couldn't get the fights that he wanted to prove how good he really is. But at least he does have the opportunity to finally break open in that PBC world, okay? And he's fighting Sean Porter. So from this point, I don't think that he should be worried about Canelo Alverez. I think him, by letting his hands do the talking and talking less, should actually be more focused on that from winning. Okay, because if he lost, he won't be anywhere near Canelo, because Canelo lost a very long time ago, and from the guy that he lost to was the guy. You know what I mean? So it was almost like an understood, yeah, you're going to lose to Floyd, right? So, if Terence Crawford loses to Sean Porter, it won't be that same fate. Okay, so, but he did say he feels he's already there and he has to prove it to the world with Porter, but what's for him will be for him. So, it was frustrating. But again, that was because of the choices that he made and the contracts he decided to sign. He should have done it on a case-by-case basis. And then that way he can negotiate every single fight that he's in versus the stuff that he started. Because once he signed that contract, his promoter, Bob Arum, started disrespecting him. Okay, and that wasn't cool. All right, saying that he lost money on a fighter. Did that fighter risk his life? You don't risk anything, Bob. Shut up. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Terence Crawford, frustrated that he doesn't have the same fate or fame as Canelo Alvarez. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.